welcome everybody to BeoTalk 299. As per usual, we have some shilling to do, but we also have some guests. But let's get through the shilling first. Go buy some stuff at Skinny Play, get 10% off. Link is in the chat. I think it's down below as well. Oh, I forgot to add you guys to this screen. Okay. Yeah. God, we're so prepared. Come join the Discord. We're nearly at 1,000, and that's about it. How's everybody been? By the way, this is Philip from what's it called? Polyvection. Sorry. And Ulrich from Hall Audio, which I have a Hall Audio Wi-Fi streamer, and it's excellent videos on the channel. I'll put that in the chat in a second as well. How are you guys? Had a good week, everybody? No sound? Wait, why did that change? It defaulted again.
No sound from Philip.
Yeah, no. Should be good now.
Sound for me was fine. So it's just Philip. There we go. Testing.
Yay, we're good to go.
There we go.
Perfect. I'm back as well.
Smooth start as usual.
God, it's open source software. It just seems to change its mind every so often.
Yeah, that's what's good.
Like, hey, we want a default audio out, which is nothing.
That's it.
Damn it.
So yeah, guys, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Hi.
Thank you very much.
Hi, thanks.
Let's see. For people that haven't seen it, Polyvection, it's on the Discord and it's bloody amazing. You essentially created a Masterlink to network link adapter. Am I right?
Yeah, something like this. So maybe let me explain a little bit on this. So we are here an engineering company, a couple of people, hardware engineers mostly, and a couple of software engineers as well. We are developing streaming platforms and streaming electronics, everything that contains a processor for customers, basically. You can think about it a bit like probably most of you have heard about the Mozart platform. We are developing something like this for other customers. And yeah, with a new website, we needed a new showcase project. And we have chosen to reverse engineer the Masterlink protocol a bit and build a nice device around it. So I can show you, maybe some of you guys have seen it. This is a little Masterlink converter box we basically built and also showcased on our website. It can also talk data link as well. So you can plug in any data link device, any Masterlink device. It will talk to them. It looks stylish, right? So it has the
I like
front.
it. It's very piano-ish.
Yeah, exactly.
It reminds me of the BeoVox 100 speakers, the billeted aluminium.
Exactly.
That's just little sharper angles.
It's solid aluminum, milled from solid aluminum, and it has that nice plastic cover here in the front where also the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth antenna is located underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the look is a little bit like probably you know that riffles from a Beosound 9000. So,
yes.
So this should
very nice.
Little look alike. So exactly. And yeah, maybe let me explain a bit about the design process we did there. So we started in the beginning with something like this. So really ugly, a USB to Masterlink adapter, just to talk about it and find out if we could talk with the Masterlink device.
So how do you get a board like that? Where do you go to buy a board like that? Or do you guys just make a board?
Exactly, this is self-made. Basically,
okay.
So it's a really simple board, like it's a 2-layer PCB with a couple of components with the physical interface basically to talk to the Masterlink devices on there with the voltage converters and with the level converters and everything on there.
Okay.
And actually USB serial converter that's also there and some audio interface. And you can see there's actually the Masterlink connector here, and there are some cables we can use to test every pin and bridge it together and just to find out how the connector works. And Exactly.
what
And
it
also
does.
in this area, you have also Masterlink data communication electronics, including the Masterlink power supply. So you have to supply power if there's no audio or video master. It's also included in here. And you can also see on this other side here is an unpopulated data link connector. We were not using this board to prototype the data link because it's really simple. It's just on 5-volt level, so you can basically almost directly talk to them. So no special electronics. But for Masterlink, the engineers back then, when they developed Masterlink, they did quite some effort to not have any kind of crosstalk or anything in the audio signals from the data communication. So it's for the late 80s, it's quite an advanced bus system that is not directly compatible with any transceiver chips or anything.
Interesting.
Exactly. So we developed this, and then
those Danes.
Sorry?
They got it. Those Danes. They got it
Exactly.
figured out.
Exactly. I mean, the whole it was an interesting journey also to look into all technical service manuals from all the devices back then. They made quite some effort to make a really robust electronics. Like it's not they haven't used every shortcut possible, but went a long way and made it really robust, and it's really nice interface.
But I think also that was the pride of Europeans versus Japanese back in the day when the electronics war from Sony, right, the Technics and Panasonic and all those Japanese brand mates versus there wasn't really that much in Europe other than B&O and I guess Marantz, right, this German, and NAD and some of those, but there was only one that made it so it's still compatible over the decades, which is the B&O.
Exactly. I mean, this is quite astonishing what they did back in the days. Even with data link, if you go really, really far in the past, the first data link devices, the first turntables with microprocessors in it, it was quite advanced back in the days, because it was, I mean, the processors and everything and the microcontrollers, it was available, but usually not in those consumer grade devices where cost is also a factor. And they were quite advanced back in the days.
To this day, there is no turntable that you can fast forward with the remote control other than the B&O ones.
Exactly. But unfortunately, if you want to use a turntable or a tangential turntable nowadays with data link, you have no choice. I mean, how many converters would you need to have a data link turntable in a network link setup nowadays, right? Maybe
you would need 2 boxes. You would need to go ML to MCL and from ML to NL. So you would need 2 boxes.
If those still work in the app.
Well, I guarantee you the ML to MCL will work no matter what, because it's very primitive and it worked all the time. All the time.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's not the actual thing that's driving it, right? Not from a command perspective. It's the NL-ML one.
I guess, well, no. It would go upstream if let's say you have a BeoCenter 9000, right, hooked up to it. You can still control it. Yeah.
Exactly. But here it's also on this. This is actually the PCB that's in that nice aluminum box inside. So you have on the one side all the processing electronics with a processor that's actually from the same chip family as the Mozart platform is. So like this thing here in the middle is the processor. There you have the DDR4 DRAM memory, power management chip, system memory, the eMMC. This is actually the Wi-Fi module here in the middle.
Cool.
And everything on this side is Masterlink and data link. And we even put in there, it's actually this small circuit here.
That is the smallest representation of ML and MCL I've ever seen, as far as when it comes to the
and it has even included a rear turntable preamplifier, so you can directly, because there are data link turntables that have that preamplifier built in and others don't. So like I think the Beogram 7000 has it built in, and for example the 5500 doesn't have it built in. So it's also optional. It can enabled or disabled in software. So if it's disabled, it's just bypassed. Exactly. So it has really everything integrated, and it's quite a small solution, probably one of the smallest ML devices, right?
That is
Especially,
absolutely spectacular. Does it get hot?
no, not at all. It
Okay.
runs really, really cool.
So you didn't do a proper BNO job on it because it needs to go hot. It needs to run hot, man.
Wait,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it has a preamp, so it's basically works with any BNO record player to ML then that doesn't have one.
Exactly. I mean, you could.
I need to buy one then because like I'm missing a preamp.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is
That
really
is
also really handy. You can enable and disable it in software, depending on which device is connected. That's really cool. Something we haven't tested, but which is technically possible, is that you use this one even as a converter between data link to Masterlink, right? So that you can maybe hook up Beogram to Beosound 9000. This would also work, but we actually haven't tested it.
I guess with the control, right? That's the whole goal of it. That's sick.
Exactly.
Wow.
So that, for example,
I think that would more or less, wouldn't it? Then it, I guess, depends on what turntable or what generation of the 9000 you have. Wouldn't that then conflict with your internal sources like the net radio? Because the net radio is phono, right?
exactly. This is actually good that you're mentioning it. I think the Mark 1 Beosound 9000 didn't came from factory with the net music and net radio support, right? Where you could connect the Beoport or Beomedia 1 to the Masterlink and then have access to the digital sources.
Yes.
But with the Mark 2 and with the Mark 3, it works fine. You can use the phono source and it will then work. I think phono, is it net music or net radio? I'm not sure. One of
phono is net radio and tape 2 is net music.
True, exactly. And the really cool thing about that the net radio and net music stuff is that basically in the software of the Beosound 9000 or Beocenter 2, Beocenter 3000, 3200, they all have this built in. This is actually a command to control and to call up audio from a second source, so from the source center. It's also called source center in the BeoTalk. Basically that they can have access to that source from a Beomedia 1, for example, or to a Beomaster 5, but it feels like it would be built into the Beosound 9000, for example. So this is really cool.
That's sweet. So would that travel the metadata basically to the display, or that's not possible for 9000?
This is also an interesting question because when I started to reverse engineer the Masterlink protocol at home, we do have a Beocenter 2.
Yes.
This has that,
and that does it, right?
That does it exactly. And the Beosound 9000, it doesn't do it with the same command that the Beocenter 2, for example, accepts. So if you're sending metadata to the Beocenter 2, it will display it, but the Beosound 9000 with the same command doesn't display it. But now I saw in the really old Beo World forum, so I don't know, 2 generations behind, so the very first one, somebody made a comment. Probably you remember that, what was it called? BM Link software or something, where you can have the Mac OS something and then have that Beoport, and you could stream from your Mac to that Beoport into your Masterlink system. It was a small application only made for Mac. Back in the days, I think it was 2007 or 2000.
Yeah. I forget what was it called, but I think somewhere in my hard drives I have a copy of that software. But yes, I remember that it was specifically for Macs because it was part of the Bonjour software package. But I don't remember what it was. A BeoLink Connect for the Mac PCs. Yeah, and it was that icon
something
was usually
like this. Yeah.
It was usually gray, just like my hair.
Exactly, and this was also done by third-party developer, and he mentioned, or somebody on that forum, I read that blog post or that forum post. He said that display that's the metadata on the Beosound 9000 works. So there must be some kind of backdoor to show the metadata,
because it does display RDS information on the radio stations. So there is a communication of some sort.
Yeah, but this is an internal source. But the other thing, I think if you connect it to a TV and sets the Beosound 9000. What is it in option 2? And the TV in option 0, and connect the speakers to the Beosound 9000. I think the metadata or the channel name, the TV channel name, is shown on the Beosound 9000.
Interesting. I've never tried that.
Yeah, probably the majority never tried this because usually you are connecting the speakers to the TV. But I do think that it will display the channel name, the TV channel name on the Beosound 9000, and this would be
very interesting thing
to sniff a little bit on the traffic and then implement it in our software. Yeah, but I really haven't looked into this yet. But yeah, still is a few things to discover on the Masterlink. So,
but feature to have, it's not essential to functionality, especially for the 9000. Like, I could care less if it says net radio or trying to scroll through whatever mix of a DJ that you're listening to, right? Which is text is long, because then you have to figure out how it scrolls, because usually I do remember 9000 scrolls on the RDS, so it can do that, but there's way more real estate on the Beocenter 2's display.
Exactly, and the Beocenter 2 will also nicely scroll. If you send like a long song name to it, it will scroll only once actually, but it will scroll.
Okay.
So but let's see. Maybe we can find out something on the Beosound 9000. But this is really down the road.
This is very down the road. So Ulrich, what's your story? You've been quiet there, just trying to avoid the conversation, or what?
I'm always quiet.
There you go.
No, well, as some of you might know, I have Whole Audio along with my wife. So it's just a two-man party, and we basically worked on PowerLink modules to connect to the TV. And for some time ago, a customer actually mentioned to me that he saw online a German guy, that was quite interesting. He made something that worked with Masterlink. And we have our cables for the Masterlink to the 2000 and the 5-pin and 7-pin for the 3500. And 2000 works okay. 3500 is, well, I wouldn't recommend it to my worst enemy. But we had it, and he said, "Well, try reaching out to him. Perhaps you can do something together." So I actually called up Philip and said, "We need to talk. This is the start of a bromance. This is going to be great. I have a lot of ideas, and our platform right now is basically based on LinkPlay, the same that makes Veeam." But they are mainly focused on Veeam now. They allocated like 90% of their resources to Veeam, and it's a quite locked system. So we're not able to do that much in the software, and that's also an appealing way to talk to Philip, because it's open and we can do like pretty much whatever we want. So now it would not be hardware specific. It would actually be software specific instead.
Okay. So in chronology, how long have you guys met that you started this journey in developing this amazing product?
Oh yeah, good question. Not that long.
Time always flies.
Not a month, right? Maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like this.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably like something like that. So yeah, I think I called him up like a month ago, and actually regarding a request on our Wi-Fi streamer that want to make a second generation, and had a few discussions about that. And then I looked a bit on the website and saw the master data tool, and said, this is definitely something we should have a look at first, because there is hell of a lot of 3500s and 2000s out there that you can buy for a bargain, because it's quite a hassle to make them to work.
They're very unintegratable unless you have a Masterlink product, right?
Yeah,
And what happens, people in homes, they take the 9,000 away and leave usually the speakers behind, and then those are useless.
Exactly. And well, now I am in Denmark, and houses that have been installed with B&O often have 3,500 and 2,000s installed
Yes.
that are not used right now because
They
they don't have anything for. No, they can't be, and they could either let them be there or put them down. But if they do that, then they will have to do the walls because everything is running in the walls.
So here's a question that I have for both of you, I guess, also when it comes to the cabling, right? There are a number of installations when the Masterlink is basically spliced into, correct? So how do you, let's say if I want 2 of those streamers, or is it just 1 streamer per the entire Masterlink system, or could you do 1 per zone, let's just call it that? And how do you power it then?
Exactly. So technically, it's possible to hook it up, to hook maybe 1 streamer up to your whole Masterlink system where you have 10 rooms or something like this.
Yeah.
But maybe before we go into this topic, because now we are talking about a streamer, and I only showed you this guy here basically because this one.
Okay, you got more. Okay, never mind.
Exactly. let me quickly explain the situation because before we deep dive into any future products that may be around the corner or maybe a bit far away, because this one, obviously we are not going to sell this because this is our nice little showcase project for the website. It's also pretty expensive to make due to the aluminum and everything. I mean, this converter box you would probably have to sell for 800, 900, 1,000 euro or something like this. It doesn't make any sense for a Beolab 3,500, right? Which is really low market value currently. After we created this this showcase project and also posted in the online forum and everything, we got quite a few requests that they want to have it, but yeah, there was the clear statement to not sell that device. So instead, because we are really not a product company here, we are not set up to do marketing and to do end customer support and these things. We are really earning our day-to-day money with engineering service. We created this little master data tool, which is basically a small PCB that you can plug onto a Raspberry. A Raspberry is really a little single board computer, so you can think about it. So this is a Raspberry. You can think about it. There's
it's just like a module.
It's like a small computer. So it has an HDMI socket on the one side. The hard drive basically is a small SD card. You can plug it in and you can use it for all kind of tinkering purpose. It has quite a big community online, and you can find all software and all documentation about this. If you want to get into tinkering with computer modules or something like this, then probably Raspberry is your first choice. And to keep things simple, we did an accessory board for the Raspberry Pi, which is this one. You can just stick onto it, and it contains all the Masterlink interface and all the data link interface and all the audio and data chips that are on there. And we started selling it. But again, we got a lot of comments from the people, because for this device to operate, you need to know how to install software. It's really technical, and many people aren't that technical. How to use a Raspberry and how to install software on it. And I completely understand also that it's difficult for non-technical people. And people ask us to sell it as a product. And again, we are not a product company, but exactly in this moment, Ulrich and me met. And now something really nice. There will be a new Masterlink product people can buy, and it will be the ML Stream device. It's basically, like you see, hall audio. It's a really early prototype of this one. It's just a housing because the PCB is not ready yet. And it will have a Masterlink connector on the one side, Ethernet connector on the other, and power supply on this side. It's really small, and it's basically, this is the successor of this one, because this is not for sale.
Holy cow, that's very condensed.
Exactly, and this will be for sale. I mean, this is as I said, the PCB is not ready for this one, but this is printed out on paper. So as a size comparison, we have this board and we have this board, like it's less than the half, basically.
Skynet is real, man. Look how small these boards are getting.
And this is for sure really the smallest Masterlink device probably the world has ever seen, right?
Yeah, I take it back now. That's for damn sure. Wow.
Exactly. So we also have that cool Masterlink connectors here, reverse engineered. It's basically a PCB. It's a direct Masterlink to RJ45 connector that we did here. So you can directly hook up a Ethernet cable to this side and then plug it into your
Does it have to be
Masterlink
shielded
socket.
cable? It has to be shielded cable,
Yes,
right?
it needs to
Okay.
be shielded, exactly. So it plugs in there and it's really tight. It locks itself really nice.
Nice.
So no more legacy ML cables, and also size comparison.
Wow.
So you see, it's really small. Like this is the Masterlink socket, and this is the compute the compute platform. So really small.
Wow.
Everything is optimized for size and for cost, so that we can also sell it for a much better price than the large one. And this
Your
Make
is
it more
cable is
affordable,
bigger than
yeah.
your computer. Jesus.
That is so
Exactly.
crazy, man.
I mean, this is something we are specialized in. So building custom project-specific processing systems
Wow.
with a CPU and with a system memory and everything on there. Everything is on a single PCB. There are no modules. Everything is down there.
So actually, the connector part is the largest piece of the PCB.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, it could be even smaller. Like if you had ribbon cable tech, basically, right? Then it could be even. There's no need for it, but wow, that's crazy how small that gets.
Exactly.
You know, comparing to like old Active Kit, remember, in that black box from B&O.
Yeah, I mean, I have it here, right?
There, there you go. Like that is an insane comparison. Like obviously, times move ahead, but that is cool. So, and that has capability to be streaming in or be streamed into.
Exactly. And what's also really cool, what we added, because now we are getting into your question. We added some special electronics, which was not the case on this device and also not on the master data tool. On this one, we added a small audio DSP to it. So a digital signal processor that we can even advance the sound of the Beolab 3500 and especially of the Beolab 2000 a bit, because both of them are really nice sounding active speakers. And if you just boost the sound a little bit with modern DSP algorithm, which just weren't available in the 90s or late 80s or whenever those devices were engineered, they will sound probably quite a bit better. So.
Well, I guess it's the same as theory as with the theater, right? Where they've remeasured all the speakers for the Mozart platform and they've basically upped the dynamic range. Exactly. And that's why, let's say, the 18s that I have sound much better with the theater than they ever did on their own, no matter what. So,
exactly.
Yeah, the DSP is the magic sauce nowadays, for sure.
Exactly. So we will measure everything and put custom, custom profiles for the Beolab 2000 and Beolab 3500 in the software. People can select this, especially for the Beolab 2000, because there's no tone control on the Beolab 2000, so you can't regulate bass and treble, but you then can using this small adapter box there. And exactly, and this is basically the answer to your question. So if you have a full Masterlink system, in theory, you can have one box connected to the system, but we are not going, because there's a bit of a problem with support cases, right? Because Masterlink systems, it's quite a system, right? With a lot of edge cases, a lot of configurations possible, a lot of rooms. Probably there are people having 20 rooms or 10 rooms full of Masterlink stuff, and it's quite difficult for us to replicate every possible scenario. So we will start in the beginning just with very simple use cases. For example, direct connection to a Beolab 3500 or 2000 or to a Beosound 9000. And we will look into this if it's doable, having that functionality to drive a full Masterlink system with it. But I'm not going to promise it because still a bit afraid about the support cases that may arise from this. And in the end, the device is really small enough to hide it beneath probably a wall or behind a Beolab 2000 or something like this, and have a direct connection there.
Yes, which if those are mounted on the wall, which they usually are, that's a tough call. Because we all know how David Lewis didn't like the installers that in those times, so you had to have specific fingers to reach those cables.
Exactly. So technically, it's possible. It can act as a video master. It can act as an audio master. It could even act as a Masterlink gateway or something like this. So you have full access to the Masterlink and do whatever you want. But in the end, it's just some kind of political decision which cases we are going to support with it or not.
But I think if you had 2 or 3 of those devices, like one per B&O speaker, let's say in your rooms, you could just AirPlay to them in the same time, no?
Of course, that works, but not with a joint Masterlink. So not 10 Masterlink nodes connected to one device, but you can have like in every room such a small adapter box and then AirPlay to it or Bluetooth to it or whatever.
Yeah, that would make more sense because then you have that, I guess, the network link-ish experience where it's a multi-room, multi-source.
Exactly.
Which I think is probably where most people will start off with, just for the AirPlay compatibility, right? Because a lot of Masterlink products are still quite nice. It's just hard to get any sources into them.
Yeah.
Especially like 3500, like you want Spotify. Like, what'd you do? Buy Core? No.
And a converter, it's not feasible. This is way more making sense. Even if you have to splice that somewhere within the wall and hide because that almost looks like it would be possible to even cram it into the back of the 3500 if it's angled on the wall.
It could be really tight. Could be tight.
Yeah, that would be hard. But I think that,
But it's so small. Do you really see it if it's up high on the wall? If you just lay it on the back of it? Not really.
Not really. No.
I mean, I'm really surprised at how small that is. Like, it's crazy.
Well, it's as big as the freaking PowerLink splitter, more or less.
Yeah. It's around the same size.
So that's insane.
That's crazy. In a good way, right? Like, holy hell, I didn't know this was possible.
Yeah,
I mean, anything from B&O, even the NLML, it's very pretty, but it's pretty sizable. Not much in it, but
so probably buy a Beolab 3200, 3500, or Beolab 2000 as long as you can, as long as the prices are low. Probably it goes through the roof.
No, but that's a great idea. That salvages so many systems, especially for, I guess, even the younger generation can get into the B&O because they can just take that little box, plug it into their, dad's or mom's 3200, 3500 or a 2000 if they have it, and go from there. Does that have a PowerLink output as well?
No, this one not.
Okay.
But maybe Ulrich, you want to
elaborate? You got some secrets too sitting on your desk?
We actually achieved quite a lot during the last 3 weeks. I think we talk on a daily basis, and Philip is the guy that does everything, and I just say, I want this. It could be cool, and he says, perhaps, yeah. Let me think about it. But no. What we are going to do is that we are looking into other products as well, and we are also looking into the hardware specs on the streamer, and say perhaps we should just make a small PowerLink device as well. And the Wi-Fi streamer Gen 2, of course, is also on the table, where we perhaps want to include PowerLink and Masterlink into the same device, as well as HDMI. So we have a lot of ideas, and what we basically want to do is that we want to make one piece of hardware where we are not limited by hardware. We want the software to be the endpoint, so to say. So this product should be viable for a lot of years, and being able to add added value in terms of opening up new software to it, where we are not limited by the hardware. So that's one of the issues regarding mini systems now, is that you buy a piece of hardware or a package, and if you want to do anything else, you would have to change the complete layout. That's not the case here. Here we will be able to add other functions through software.
So you go around the hardware basically with coding.
Yeah, and that's where Philip shines. He's quite a magician, actually.
I would say too, because that's yeah.
So I was quite surprised of the size as well. When you look at other converters, you could probably have 30 pieces of the ML streamer in a converter.
Yeah.
So essentially, with the whole Wi-Fi streamer with Masterlink, you can make more or less any TV sort of a BeoVision in that sense, which is kind of, well, at least a BV10 kind of era TV, right? Where you like have your
exactly.
CD player attached, or record player for that matter. That's really awesome.
And and we of course want to make a variety of products where it makes sense. But the Wi-Fi streamer is something that, of course, is quite close to me, because we spent a lot of time on developing Gen 1, and Gen 2 is something where, well, basically software is the limit, because there is so many options you could use it for, and if you can make sure it's going to work with the new B&O products or other brands as well, it would just be amazing to revive a lot of old speakers. So yeah, that is something we also look into.
I mean, what I personally very much like about, like, even the Wi-Fi streamer or both sort of things, right? Like, a lot of B&O is so expensive now that if you want to get into the world of B&O, you end up in the Masterlink era, but it's kind of a dead protocol era. So if you're young and you're like, God, I love B&O and what they did, but like I can't afford 18s or whatever, which is very likely. This works really well.
Yeah, and another thing is also that it should be basically everyone should be able to use this device and use it on the 3500s or 2000 at a cheap price, but also that it's super user friendly, because Masterlink is quite a hassle. So if it's just super simple to use, plug and play, use your BO4 to fast forward or pause or whatever, then it's something that's really easy to use, and everyone can use it.
Yeah, if you need to inject code with Linux, people are going to go like, what?
A lot of people probably know the command line menu 09, play, arrow up, CD.
What is that trigger on?
That's the code for activating service mode on the Beolab 2000.
Oh, I've never serviced those. It's probably somewhere in the books, but that's funny.
What, you just tossed it?
Exactly.
Get you a new one.
and that's the point we should get besides that, because it shouldn't be like that when using old products. It should just be super simple.
Yeah, I agree, and it's the simpler the better, in my opinion, because the experience is much more smoother, I guess, right, for the end user, when they can just plug it in and it just works.
Exactly, yeah.
And the really nice thing about that old B&O stuff is they are just timeless, right? So Beolab 3500, it looks like you could still sell it in that kind of form. So
if it had new capabilities and a better sound, obviously they could reverse engineer or like, I hope they don't do the classic of it, but if they did something along the lines, or yeah, I think that just makes more sense. It would sound better for sure, right? But if you have one, it still looks like it's today.
yeah, exactly.
The B&O doesn't date itself much. Even the
It just
BeoCenter
doesn't
9000.
die.
Well, even the BeoCenter 9000, if you look at it, there's no buttons on it, but all the lights glow, right? All the numbers, and it's older than most people that can even remember it. Well, we remember it. I remember it. I still have one, hell. But that's something that I have a few clients in mind that would benefit from this, from these devices. And they would buy a pile of them just to put it in a few different things to have, you can just stream different rooms.
If I should give some sort of update on how we're proceeding now, is that right now we are looking for testers. We got quite a lot of people writing that they wanted to be testers. So on Tuesday, I will select out the testers we are going to use, and then we will actually be able to start testing within a month.
Nice.
Where we are. Well, we won't put any restrictions on the testers. They can show and tell whatever they want regarding the product. But what's important for us is that we get some sort of feedback on how is it to use. Is there anything we need to change in the user interface?
The bug report, basically, and so on.
Exactly. So are we missing anything? Is the product as good as we think ourselves? Or do we need to change anything? So we're actually going to listen a lot to the testers, and as soon as we have a complete test, we will probably start a crowdfunding campaign. Basically to of course see the interest in the product. I think no matter what, the launch of the product would be done, but it would of course make it easier for us to plan production of the units, because it's actually going to be manufactured in Europe, in Germany.
Okay.
So prices are of course different than in China.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's nice to know what are you looking into. Instead of making 50 pieces, should we make 200, or is 200 too much? So that is also something we are going to use the crowdfunding campaign to do as well. And then we actually think that by end of Q3 latest, we will be able to ship out a product. So I think we achieved quite a lot in 3 weeks.
Really fast.
And but just look what Philip did in 3 weeks.
I mean, I'm still amazed that you
slick.
somehow managed to tie in the God, what's this remote called again? The Halo. To the BeoCenter 2, and that you can operate the CD mechanism and stuff. Like, what the hell?
That is sick. I'm still getting a kick out of the Serenata in the background, which is, I have one that doesn't work anymore.
True.
But yeah, exactly. That is pretty slick.
Exactly. I mean, I even used the Halo for controlling Beogram 5500. So that was also really cool to have the Halo besides the turntable, and then just push a button and control the turntable with the Halo directly without anything in between. That was also really nice.
So if it's not a secret, what's the path of control? It's just the Halo is connected on the network, right?
Exactly. I mean, for the Halo, there is that open, or that the API is public for that home automation API side into the Halo, and I was just abusing that a little bit and showing icons and showing icons for controlling the turntable, and exactly the converter box. So in case this one here was connected to the turntable by data link, and the Halo was talking to the converter, and the converter would then control the turntable and record the audio and distribute it. either by AirPlay or also by an internet radio stream locally. Exactly.
That is sick. Very cool.
Wait,
I mean, also.
So you can have this essentially the converter plugged into your like BeoCenter 2, and it automatically streams to an AirPlay capable speaker in your house, right?
Exactly. I mean, this is now something that would also be possible with this device here by Masterlink, but it won't ship in the first software version. So technically, it's possible doing that. So recording from the Masterlink and redistributing it to AirPlay speakers, like I did that little setup here with the Beolib 12. That was never integrated into Network Link or Masterlink or anything. You can remember probably. Yeah, and I used it for controlling the turntable with the Halo and streaming audio to the Beolib 12. That was also quite funny. So
that's amazing, dude. That is amazing. I'm very impressed.
And also one other hack actually at home, we have an LG OLED panel, no theater or anything, but the LG is connected by SPDIF to Beosystem 3. All speakers are connected to the Beosystem 3, and the small ML converter is also connected by Masterlink to the Beosystem 3. Okay. And I can use the Beo4 remote, press TV. The converter will switch on the LG, and I can control the LG by the Beo4 remote, and the audio comes into the Beosystem 3 by SPDIF, and it's still from the audio side, it's still decent, really decent, like have a Dolby Digital 5.1 system.
No shit.
It sounds really nice. Cool. And it really feels native. Like you press the TV button on the Beo4, the LG switches on. You can control everything with the cursor. And I even put, I repurposed the color buttons to actually accessing apps on the TV. So I can press the green app for the green button on the Beo4 for accessing Spotify, for example, or the blue button for accessing the Disney app. And,
okay, so yeah. Basically like a peripheral unit controller or a puck. That used to be
yeah, but over Masterlink,
in an idea. Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't actually use the puck.
No, it just goes by the color. And, yeah, it's just whatever. That's exactly. Cool. That's very cool. Exactly. Just mapped buttons, basically.
Exactly.
Oh, very System 3s are going to be expensive soon if this is a thing.
Oh God.
And it works really well. Like I'm using it for over half a year at home now, and there was not a single glitch. So it works really. And
that is something that I honestly have few clients that no shit would buy it because they have all BeoVision 4s and they are going. Mm-hmm. One already has a black stripe through it, so we're looking into the solution. But yeah, if that's available, you have to let me know because I will definitely buy one. And it's going to a theater for a very long-term client of mine. That's the only solution that we have.
Yeah.
Didn't you also have a client that had like a very janky setup with a Beosystem 4 and a new LG and 5s and stuff, and like it was sort of dual?
Yeah, but that was we just put the theater into that one back, so that's a different story. But yeah, no, there is in Calgary, I have definitely a few people that would be interested in this for sure, because how tied they are to the system.
Yep.
So that is good. Now, I guess when it comes to the PowerLink, let's say for some reason, if you're crazy enough to put the 50s or 90s, like, are you guys considering doing the presets to be accommodated to the PowerLink data or no?
I really have to say I haven't had a look into this. So
I haven't gone this far.
How to control the presets or anything. What we will do with the streamer is to support Beolab 5. So with the not with the Masterlink streamer, but with the second one.
That's great news.
Ulrich, what was
Wi-Fi
the name?
streamer.
Wi-Fi streamer, exactly. We will going to support the PowerLink data to switch on Beolab 5 and also surf the display on the Penta speakers. So
that's cool.
You just say it like, oh, we're just going to do this, but the 5s are one of the hardest speakers to like actually make work properly. And then the displays on the Pentas are also like sort of like, oh yeah, just make stuff appear. It's like, holy hell, like,
exactly.
Modern B&O doesn't even do this to their own old stuff.
Well, they kind of moved on. Not that they abandoned it, but they've moved on completely, right, to a new era. But I still think that what you guys are doing, B&O should have considered doing years and years ago, in my opinion.
But if
But
you're listening, just like outsource it if you don't want to do it yourself. Like they
yeah,
have
get in contact with
come
the
on,
guys.
do this. This is cool.
Yeah, it's a revival of the old product, man, and a lot of people have it. And
the
there
old
are
products
scenarios.
deserve it.
They do. They absolutely do. And if you have a house that has, let's say, 5 zones, and your let's say your TV goes, or 9,000 goes, and you can't buy lasers for them anymore, so you try to replace it with something. So let's say you get a theater, or you get something that is not Masterlink, but you still want to utilize that. It's really hard to do anything with it, because you would have to keep either a Masterlink, or there's really no solution to it unless hiding a piece of B&O that is a Masterlink audio master, basically, in the basement somewhere, right, in the equipment room, so you can feed your line in AirPlay or whatever core per se, right, where this is far more logical to do.
It's and
Far more
smaller, and if
logical.
it's cheaper, like I wouldn't want to buy 5 cores for just this, right?
No.
It's kind of wasted at that point. I mean, also, unless you have a very like high-end speakers, and I wasn't even considering 5s, but like 5s, 50s, 90s. It's like buy a core maybe because like the thing you're buying is so expensive, but for all the other speakers, like your Wi-Fi streamer works perfectly, and you can set your own DSP and stuff, so you can make the sound your own.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love this thing. It's fantastic.
I do think it's fantastic as well, but I have just experienced in the limitations we have. We're not able to develop the product in the same platform because we're too locked in. If we want a Chromecast certification, we are looking in the other side that I think 40,000 euros just to get the Spotify certification. Chromecast certification. So we are very, very locked in the system we are now, where in the collaboration with Philip, we have a lot more options and none of the same limitations. And if you can make the product even better than it is now, then we should just go for it.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Maybe a silly question, and maybe it's because like it's for a lot of, to put it this way, I've heard a lot of people say like it's easy, right? Have you ever considered doing it like a surround sound hall Wi-Fi streamer? Because like you just add ports, right? That's all you do.
Yes, we have considered it, and there's several suggestions on the table. Of course, it would be nice to do it wireless, but there are some limitations in delays as well. It would be nice just to plug in 1 unit per speaker and say it's wireless 5.1. Perhaps the option is that we would look into a single unit where you would need to run the cables. But it is something that we have talked about. But how it will end out is a good question. But it's definitely something we're looking into as well.
I like modern wireless things, but for audio, I would say stand on cables, because hiding cables is not that hard in the end, but the experience is so much better.
Exactly, and another thing that Philip looked into was actually a passive junction box, where you basically just could connect your speakers by RJ45 and have a sender unit. So if you are redoing walls or whatever anyway, and you have a RJ45 cable, it could be possible to use that cable and end up in a junction box, a distribution box somewhere, where you just connect the streamer.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you your own tab on our Discord, because if you ever make one of those, because I was really considering getting another theater for the bedroom, but if this is a thing, like, I'd rather buy more old speakers, right, and use them this way. And also, I can buy several sets of speakers compared to one theater, because theaters are kind of expensive nowadays.
Yeah,
the huge problem when you're really into multi-channel, like a multi-channel setup in your living room or whatever. The real problem is the licensing from Dolby, right? Because it's super expensive. So stereo is fine, and doing some even stereo with some pseudo center channel, this will also work still okay. But if you're really into that digital Dolby Digital or Atmos or whatever stuff, it's like crazy license cost. So
does every device in the stream, essentially, besides the speakers, needs to be certified, or is it enough that your TV is certified?
Nah, unfortunately, the TVs themselves are usually not certified for multi-channel audio. It's only the decoder that needs to be certified, right? Because you're going into the decoder with a digital stream, and there the decoding is happening, and this is actually what you have to pay for: licensing fees and testing fees and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, the market for B&O retro or speaker retrofitting stuff is not that huge. We are probably not going to sell 1,000 or 10,000 units per month. So probably in the end, it's a business decision then. But technically, it's perfectly possible.
Maybe you don't know. I don't know. But is it Dolby license per unit, or is it something like Chromecast, where like a huge lump sum up front and then per unit?
It's actually a licensing fee per channel. So, and it's a quite high one.
Per channel?
Interesting.
Interesting. Yes. Well, I guess they're Dolby and they do it their own way, and they stamp their foot down.
Wow.
Well, I learned something new.
Yeah, and so have I. But no, this is definitely awesome. I really like the way that you guys are taking it, because it's something that, yeah, it's been needed for probably around a decade by now. Because the NLML converter, kind of worked, but it was very limited to what it did. You could never stream to it. It was basically like a network active kit. That's it. For how big it was, it really had no other purpose. I guess it had a dual purpose based on what firmware they dumped into it. It was either a BeoLiving gateway or BeoLink gateway, or it was an LML converter. Yeah. So it was a weird, but I think this is much more sensible to do, especially where people can, because we have clients that have Masterlink buses, right? Because all the passive kits are basically just installed in one spot in a technical room. So technically, it could all be replaced by one of your plug-in streamers into the ML box of the active kit, right? And just have them all as zones, as long as there's access point they're close enough, so you have a perfect Wi-Fi coverage for all of them. Yeah, because I would assume that traffic would start to get heavy if you have, let's say, 7 or 10 zones airplaying together from your phone, which there is no possibility to hardware. It's only a Wi-Fi connection so far, or always will be.
No, it's actually the Wi-Fi is actually optional, so it comes with a hardwired connection. So it's a physical network connection, and you can plug in a USB Wi-Fi dongle for adding Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi.
Oh, so it's even better because you just put it in the switch and it's rock solid.
Exactly.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic.
What is it? I had a question from KCBR. He was wondering, Philip, if you can also fix the B&O app.
Well, it's a bit beyond my control, but
Yeah, don't even get me started on it because they still. Oh.
And Mark asks, how does this work with making Masterlink devices, or is it not labeled as such? Like, are B&O okay with that, or is it so far out of range that you're sort of free to do whatever?
I mean, you can always say compatible devices. It's like compatible with Masterlink, and that's about it.
So it's
Okay.
not like you're Dolbying, like it's not trademarked in this. Well, it is sort of
No,
trademarked, but
no.
it's not
I mean,
protected in the same way.
No, I mean officially, it says just in the fine print that it's compatible with Masterlink, and that's about it. And like we are not showing big product pictures of B&O, not going into detail regarding this. I mean, we are not the first company releasing a Masterlink product, right? There's also another company that is selling Masterlink adapters and Masterlink streaming solutions and PowerLink stuff. So we are compatible with it, and that's it.
That's perfect. So you should be. B&O should be more compatible with their own Masterlink too.
So how did you, like, Philip? How did you get to B&O? Did you grow up with B&O, or was this purely from like a business person just asked you and you were like, "What the hell is Bang & Olufsen?" Or like how does this start for you?
Exactly. Yeah, actually, I grew up with B&O, and it was always around in the family back in the 90s. Yeah, I really fell in love with that stuff back then. Also, still have a Beocenter 9500 and Beocenter 2 and all that stuff. And yeah, exactly. But at some point, must have been 2010 or 2011, somehow the love for B&O split a bit because the company was shifting directions, and I was more for the classic B&O, and went my own way, and had really a long time without B&O at home, but now revived the old love for the brand.
Nice.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense because it went sort of weirdly software-y in that era, and it was kind of shit. I mean, back then, the Masterlink era, even Network Link era, most of it was rock solid, and then we had BV14s and Avant Gen 2s, and
Oh, that's where it was a landslide for B&O as far as the product quality when it comes to the software.
and the Horizon, and like every
even with the Eclipse dropping the Bluetooth, and like the stability was just completely undermined to what it used to be believed in, right? When like the Masterlink, unless your house got fucking struck by lightning, like then it works. It just will work, and there's no ifs and buts about it. But when nowadays it's a little different. But then again, back then B&O had a full control, where now we don't. We're relying on whatever the third party ISP provider is and whatever people have for network switches, right? Because you can't just go in and revamp the whole house when you're selling them a product to guarantee it works. You just got to kind of make it work on whatever they have, right?
Exactly.
So,
I mean,
that's the biggest challenge nowadays.
I mean, I guess, Ulrich, you just grew up with B&O because you're Danish. Like, it's everywhere, right?
That's right.
Everywhere, every street corner.
That's it. Tripping over the 8,000s going home from the bar.
Exactly.
But what made you decide to go into the sort of product support side of B&O? Was it sort of like, I have speakers, but I don't know what to do with them because I don't have a BeoVision, or?
Basically, if we look at the start from whole audio, it was basically the need of a wireless speaker. At that point, I looked at Libertone, and it was quite expensive for a student, so I had to create my own. And
As
basically, it started from there.
Instead of spending, you studied and you made that happen.
Exactly,
That's
sitting
awesome.
in a 40 square meter apartment with a wife and a kid, assembling products.
That's it.
Uh, but no, basically we started out making amplifiers running Bluetooth, and down the road we made our whole connector, which is a small Bluetooth receiver, and basically said, well, when you go out and buy a Bluetooth receiver, then you have to get the cable afterwards, and if you're buying online, you have 2 or 3 times shipping. So we will just pack the box as you want it. Is it phono, or is it 5-pin DIN, or is it a mini jack you need? Just press and we will ship the complete product to you. And that's actually how we got into the B&O era, because apparently people figured out, oh, I could actually get my Overture or 3200 to work with this Bluetooth connector. And yeah, that's basically how we got into B&O. And at some point we just developed products with B&O in mind. All our products worked with all brands, but it's especially made for functionality with B&O. So yeah, that's actually how we we got into the market for legacy B&O speakers and stereos.
Which is great because it's such a great brand. But I guess the problem with the B&O is that if they don't support their own, there's really nobody that will, right? And people like yourself don't come across that often.
No.
Through the brands and such as B&O. So that's awesome.
Exactly, and it's no secret that pricing on B&O lately have taken quite a jump.
Yes.
And we do have some of our products at B&O resellers, and this discussion with them while we got into the stores was that rather than trying to sell the customer a 100% solution at 60 or 70K, sell them 20%, because if you only push for the 70K, you probably lose them. They will change the system because it's not sure they have the money for the system from the beginning. But if you sell them 20% now and another compatible device like ours, then next year or the year after, you can send them 20 or 30% more and keep them in the ecosystem.
Yes, I think so. I mean, it's also over time you start building, right? Like you don't have to buy it all in one go.
No, exactly. And that's often the issue we ran into with the resellers is that, well, it's either this or nothing. Instead of saying, okay, we can start by 20 or 30% now, and then they can come back instead of just skipping everything. And we have a large generation that are having a lot of the 8000s and the Overtures and so on. And if they need to change everything and they need to pull out all the cables of the walls, then it's
the
going
cost
to be
becomes astronomical. That's a no sale. That is a no sale.
Exactly. So rather 20% now or 30, and then a few percentage more in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
God, I don't want to spend what I spent on B&O in one go. I just realized, I started thinking, like, what did I actually spend on
that?
Imagine if I spent it all in once. I wouldn't have spent it, I don't think.
No, that's too much to swallow in one go.
I mean, I spent it in the end anyway, right? But you don't do that in one go.
It's not as painful when you stretch it,
It's also not so much of a heart attack in your bank account. It's like,
yeah. But no, that totally makes sense. That to have something like that for a device, like I have so many clients that I have in mind for those, well, a variety of things that you guys have, because everybody would need something different, I guess. But that streamer it's a godsend. It definitely is. I saw a question roll up in in the chat about its ability to stream Spotify into the Beosound 5. I guess you can stream anything into the Beosound 5 of it, right? You would use
well, the Beosound 5, the problem is you can't stream anything to the Beosound 5 usually. You can only attach that Behringer adapter, that Behringer USB adapter thing. But also what's interesting, even if you set the Beosound 5 to CD and to radio mode, so you can either have
care.
it.
Yeah, it still turns on.
It doesn't. Yeah, but the interesting thing is if you set it to CD and radio, and then, for example, use our small Masterlink adapter to handle the net music and net radio sources, the Beosound 5 won't ask for this on the Masterlink bus, so it doesn't work. But now, of course, there's another handy trick we can do. We can say we are video master if there's no video master connected, and just do it by the TV source. So we can say, hey, we are a TV. There are speakers connected to the Beosound 5, and we can just activate the TV source on the Beosound 5, and then it asks for the audio stream on the Masterlink, and then we can serve it, and then the streaming plays over Masterlink into the Beosound 5, and it will come out of your speakers.
I know a lot of people will rewind this part of the conversation, but I understand exactly the path of it.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Jesus Christ, that
is spectacular. Yeah, man, that is cool. Because that's exactly the logic that I would have, because the only way you can lie to that Beomaster 5 is by a TV.
Exactly.
That's it.
Well, that means those don't have to be thrown away anymore, then they still have some value. Jesus Christ, you're going to make everything expensive when it's all compatible with everything.
Yeah, buy now.
That's it.
I mean, the Masterlink system, the Masterlink bus, the Masterlink protocol, it's really brilliant. It's still useful today, right? You can just serve all the products with the Masterlink bus and can still bring it to the 21st century, right? Even what I explained before with the Beosystem 3, it just gorgeous, right? To hook it up to a 4K OLED screen, and the Beosystem 3 will still handle audio and digital, and it sounds really well. I mean, the picture is shit nowadays. You don't want to use this with your 4K.
Oh screen. Yeah, but it's still like if you have it installed with all the speakers going into it, and most likely you have a 9000 on the wall, because that's how those systems were usually. You have an audio master as well.
Yep.
And but the screen, like even if you have a BeoVision 12, Sandeep was swearing to it for how long, and he finally gave up. And people are now. I've seen we did a trade-in where the BeoVision 12 was given away, but moved downstairs to the basement where nobody will watch it ever again. But that technology is now becoming too washed out, too yellow, too much. Replace me. So
yeah, exactly.
And then you are very tied, especially in the B&O's terms, where, well, shit, how do I now bring the sound into the system, right? You already have the hassle of the SPDIF to optical converter, right? Because LG panels are only optical. There's no coax coming out, so there's a box. But yeah, then the control becomes an issue, right?
Yeah, or you end up with two remotes, which is also very inelegant.
Exactly, and just for the information on the technical side, we are using a nice little trick. For this, you probably can remember that you could hook up a BeoMedia 1 or even a BeoMaster 5 to the BeoVision 7 or Beosystem 3.
Yes, the PC.
As the PC source, exactly. And we are using this source. You can say the PC source, you can assign it to the TV button, for example, or to the DTV button. And exactly this trick we are doing in this scenario. So we are emulating a BeoMaster 5 as the PC source. And in the setting of the Beosystem 3, you can say PC source is on the TV button. And then the nice thing is we are getting all Beo4 remote commands on the Masterlink bus and can then forward it to the LG TV.
That is sick. Yeah, because I was wondering, like, how would you do that? Because that would be the only way. because when you have BeoMaster 5 linked into the BeoSystem 3, it automatically grays out the input number 5, I believe it was.
Mhm.
It's just the PC6's
Exactly.
camera. And then
Exactly.
it locks it in for the internal communications only.
Yep.
So, question from the
Son
chat
of
is,
a bitch.
how do we interface with this device? Is it like an app-based control, or is it on the network, or how or
I'm getting
HTML
another
page?
coffee. This is great. Hold on a minute. This is great.
Exactly. It will be accessible on the network, so there will be no direct app you can download in the App Store, but a progressive web app. So you can just enter the IP or the name of the device in your browser line, and then get to the settings page, and you can, for example, also install the settings page, or even there's even we are even planning for a simple Masterlink remote control app, so progressive app you can save to your home screen and then use it like a native app. It feels like a native app, but it actually isn't. It's just a browser page in the end. And then even remote control your BLabs 3500 or your ML system using
So
this. So it
similar
will all
way
be
to like you save a web page to your home screen on your iPhone and
exactly.
So. Interesting. So do you then have like drop down menus? Because I take it doesn't automatically know what it's attached to, and since all ML is slightly different with, like, do you need to tell it it's attached to a 2000 or a 3500 or a 9000?
Exactly.
Let's say.
Exactly. There will be a couple of drop down menus to configure everything. So to which speaker is it connected, or to which Beosound selected there, and also select the DSP profiles, which I mentioned earlier there. And exactly. But nothing special. Something really easy to understand.
Well, it's like almost a configure a router, basically, right? Like a web interface.
Exactly.
Sick.
Yeah, I think most people will be able to get around with that, because one of the initial things when I was looking on the Discord, right, is like, was it the master data tool? I was thinking, like, is this Linux based, and how many people actually even like know the word Linux but actually have ever seen it? Like, where does it go from there? Or is it one of these things where, like, to you, the designer, it makes so much sense, you just do this, right? And everybody else is like, how do you get to that?
Yeah, exactly, and exactly this was the problem. So we got actually more requests about this tool than we actually sold from people that have no clue about technical stuff and still want to have it. And then we often said, hey, no, it's unfortunately not for you then, because we don't really have the resources to talk to you through every single step. And but this is exactly where Ulrich comes in. So we are making a proper product out of it. It will be sold by Hall Audio, and we are just doing the engineering part from it. And exactly, so perfect combination of the two of us.
Yeah, and that is some of it is quite an important thing that it's super user friendly. So you with no technical skills can use the device, and that's where I think talking back and forth with Philip is something that where we really can solve a hurdle where we can make it super simple and super user friendly without, well, basically no setup, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what
it's awesome.
Especially sort of shocked by is how fast you can go from just a concept to a product to actually selling it with somewhat of a warranty. It's just like, God.
But I guess if you have that capability of manufacturing PCBs and everything in-house, and you have the manpower and talent and IP, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it's not that hard. It's not that limiting. Like, to me, it's wow for sure.
But bigger companies can't do it this fast.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is we are from the engineering perspective really in a niche here, so that we are also owning the whole IP regarding the processor chip down design, and it's something that is really complex to develop and takes a lot of time. And I mean, it's our daily business, right? We don't have to develop the whole platform just for that adapter, but we have it in our portfolio and can just copy it over and add the Masterlink interface to it. And this also brings us into the position to have something that tiny, basically. I mean, it's just a couple of centimeters. It's like 7 centimeters long or something like this. If you don't have that capability in-house, you would usually use a module for this, a processing module, and they are huge. Most of them are larger than our final solution that includes the Masterlink interface. Right, and this is just something that comes basically with us.
To me, this is just dots and squares, and
yeah, but this was the big solution. This is not even the last one.
I know this ain't it. I know that it's the older board.
I mean,
definitely.
I must say, I applaud the confidence of just putting this online and sort of going, I know you can't make this, so even if I give you the drawings, essentially, it's like you're not going to copy it.
Exactly.
That's it.
I mean,
that is cool, man.
You would never catch an Apple or something doing this, right? Like, this is how our PCB is, because Samsung would be going, oh.
Yeah, this is so niche that it's just too far away. But yeah, you are definitely, guys, on the right track with something cool.
Yeah, I think so as well. It will be a really, really interesting journey, I think.
Yeah, we're already 3 weeks in.
I already think it's very interesting. Yeah, given how short the time frame of this collaboration was, really, how far you guys moved. That's insane. That's
exactly. I mean, I started with the Masterlink interface. I mean, with this project here, we started end of last year, maybe Q3 last year, something around this. We started with this project, so it is not really just the last 3 weeks, but our collaboration is just the last 3 years. So this
how
is
did
basically...
how did you get to the, like, let's say, the data command infrastructure within the Masterlink itself? Because there is really no documentation published, even internally, for B&O, of how that protocol communicates.
I mean,
all reverse engineering.
And you can just sniff the messages, and also what's also interesting online, you can find regarding the Masterlink the Masterlink gateway. You can find some documentation regarding the Masterlink interface, and also the protocol itself. I think there is a raw mode or something of the Masterlink gateway, right? You can directly access all the Masterlink commands, and some really intelligent people already started to reverse engineer it, but obviously never built any kind of direct Masterlink interface. So we were reusing parts of that work and as a starting point, and then make a deep dive into it.
Yeah, that's I guess I never considered that it's the only gateway to that would be the old Masterlink gateway.
Exactly.
Because that was still dumb enough, but very smart for the time and era, I guess.
Yeah.
What a pain to program that system was. Oh my God. But it still worked, man. It still worked. You know, how many people could say that I have my system on an iPhone app, right?
I think the app is still available in the App Store, right?
I think so. I don't remember if it's but it's definitely been a long time.
That's true.
It's been a long time. So yeah, that's very, very genius how you guys did that. And I think the end product is it's a very viable solution for a lot of people that have Masterlink devices that are, you know, collecting dust in a bag somewhere in the attic because they can't use them anymore. And especially,
I also think that it's something where we're going a bit out on a limb here, because we didn't really research the market before we started talking about this, and for a little bit it was basically just a showcase. But I have like 3 2000s and 2 3500s just stocked in a container.
Yeah.
So it was also from a personal point of perspective that it could be interesting to get them to work. So yeah, we basically haven't done any research, I would say, on the interest on the product, but I think we both agree that it's quite a viable solution that probably would be interesting for a lot of people.
I agree. I definitely agree, especially with the craziness of the data communication as well, where you can have the pentas. Pentas have their age, and mostly the displays are shot on them, so it's not really something too crazy. But I have a lot of people that do have Beocenter 2s, and the metadata, that's a cool feature, man. That is a very cool feature because you don't even get that metadata out of the CDs that are capable of carrying that information. It doesn't read it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and what's really cool that you can even use the buttons on the music system, like on the Beocenter 2 or on the remote to skip the track, and that's really cool.
That is fantastic. I'm at a loss for words, essentially, how cool that is, because that's something that B&O should have done years ago, but they never really, they kind of abandoned the ship on all the Masterlink people.
Yeah.
So there's hope, and it's very nice to see that there is hope.
What really surprised me with regards to the buttons, right? It's that it's the buttons on all involved products work. Like your forward and back on your iPad work, the forward and back on your remote work, but also on the device itself.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Because it's the same communication, essentially, right?
Exactly. It's on the Masterlink. It's the same communication, and it feels on all product really like integrated. It's not that dumb aux connector or aux player you are connecting, but it feels really integrated, like it would be integrated into the music system. That's really nice. We even add like for AirPlay, there's a 2 seconds buffering delay in the AirPlay stream. So there's a problem if you push the next button. So for accessing the next track, you have the 2 seconds buffer delay. So it would the old song would continue playing for 2 seconds, and then only
skip.
afterwards it would skip. And we even added basically a 2 seconds mute, so that if you press the button, it will mute for 2 seconds and then continue the stream. That there's a direct audible feedback. So we can't do anything about the 2 seconds delay because it's hard coded in the AirPlay stream, but we can at least give an audible feedback by just muting it after you press the button, then the buffer drain, and then the next song starts.
That's perfect. How did you guys deal with like the Masterlink addressing, right? Because if you have more than one product on Masterlink, obviously they have their own address. Excuse me, because that's essentially how the Masterlink gateway works, how you can assign specific commands to go to the local product that is for that zone, right?
Exactly. I think I think I do remember that when setting up the Masterlink gateway, for example, we have to switch on each zone one after the other. Was it like this?
That's right. Yeah. So it sequentially puts it on.
This is exactly, and this is also the trick we are using here to record all the addresses on the Masterlink bus. That you have to activate one zone after the other, and then we can record it, and then we know which addresses are on the bus.
Perfect.
And if you just connect like one Beolabs 3500 or 2000 or whatever, there's also a special a broadcast address, so an address where all devices will listen. So then you don't even have to know the addresses.
Okay, that's fantastic. I love this nerdy talk, man.
Yeah.
There's not much of it going on nowadays, but this is proper nerdy. I love it. Yeah. And it's like old school nerdy. Because Masterlink, Masterlink is only the old schoolers on the podcast remember the Masterlinks, and very much, I guess, no pain with it really, because that's when the products. I guess the only pain that you would have is during a Masterlink lockup, right? Where I guess you would just deal with that by power cycling all of your devices and coming back online one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess in your case you wouldn't have that issue because there is really no Masterlink. It's just communicating directly into the product. It's not it doesn't let the other product affect your prior one that is connected to it. So yeah, that's a very smart way to even bypass it. It does not exist, and so there's no issue.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic. Have you guys ever considered running a PoE into so it's just one cable? So in case of, let's say there is, I guess from the network link standard perspective, like when they introduced network link, they also introduced the entire Cat7 infrastructure as far as the BNO is concerned, right? So a lot of those installations past didn't really use the Masterlink. They just used the Cat7 cable with an RJ female and then a short ML to RJ45 connector adapter, right? That you somewhat squish into the goddamn back of that 3500 and put it on the wall. And so my question is, wouldn't it be something that you guys have already entertained as an idea that you can use that Cat7 cable that goes directly down to the junction box per se, right, or the panel as a PoE from a PoE switch, just to directly connect your adapter without a need for another, I guess, a USB plug-in device.
Exactly. Yeah, I really thought about it already, so it's good that you mention it. It would also be no problem technically. We could add this easily, but then in the end, yeah, it requires some kind of expert installation, right? So it
Yes.
becomes really specific again. With you need a PoE power inserter and all that stuff, and need to have some knowledge, and probably need to have an installer that does all this. It's probably a bit over the top. It gets a bit too complicated, and we would have to put it probably into every box, and only maybe 5% would be using it. Technically, yes, it would be a super neat solution, but probably a bit too
I guess it comes
complicated
cost versus utility, right? At the end of the day. So no, that's understandable. But it's something that I obviously look at it from not just a regular, BNO fan perspective, but more or less as an installer that I put together large systems. So I kind of see this as like, how would I do that for the people that, I know for a fact that this could be possible to do.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
So those would be that's why I'm asking these questions, and I'm sure that some people also would wonder about that as well, because they have their 3500s and it's always on a freaking like a granite wall or something unforgiving, right? And
you need to chisel.
it's never a good time. It's never a good time with the good old 3500.
Oh, this might be a very silly question. Are they all going to be universal power supplies essentially, or is it just Euro power and like rest of the world power or something?
Yeah, maybe Ulrich, you are selling it in the end. Probably you can explain which market.
Because it's I take it's an adapter, right? Like a wall board plug thing, or is the power being handled in the device itself?
No, it would be an external USB
power supply.
Power supply, yes. Yeah. So yeah, it will support the market where it goes. So yeah.
Nice.
That wouldn't be an issue at all.
I mean, I'm running into this issue currently, having moved here, right? Like my Beocenter 2 is European, so I have to like use power transformers, and
it's not fun.
No, well, the transformer I have works fine with the Beocenter 2, but it doesn't work. Well, it works, but it doesn't work correctly with my Beogram 2000, because it transforms the voltage, but not the hertz. So regardless of what I do, even if I slow it down, it still runs like 8% fast, which is really annoying because of that 50 to 60 hertz difference.
So everything sounds a little bit higher pitch.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's so Scottish LPs, Scottish mix. Oh boy.
Yeah, so currently my solution is to go from 110 volt to 12 volt DC to then get a car adapter to go to 230 volt 50 hertz.
That's
which is it's an adapter into an adapter that then hopefully puts out the correct power.
Yeah, that sucks. And you can't change the power supply in those things nowadays. I don't think that is even available. So,
no.
Lost cause, especially for US side of things.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of considering, like, do I go with a new record player at this point? But I feel really bad because my Beogram is like mint condition from 1972. So it's like this perfectly nice rosewood, no dents, no nothing. Like even the plastic is not saggy in the middle, right? So it's sort of like, oh, I feel so bad not using this.
If there only was a device that could make that happen, eh?
Yeah.
So no, that's perfect. I really like the way that this is going. What was I going to ask? Have you guys considered, like, I guess, integration with the BeoRemote 1 as far as the Bluetooth goes? Because obviously you can still do it. Well, I guess you can do it with the IR, but is there a possibility to connect the Bluetooth, the BR1?
Exactly. So right now there's no plan to add Bluetooth connectivity to the box at all. So unfortunately, no.
Okay, that answers that question. I'm sure somebody would have asked.
I'm not sure that's a bad thing either, necessarily. Like Bluetooth,
I don't think so either.
I mean, especially if you put it in a wall, your Bluetooth is going to suck a little bit anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And the products we are connecting the box to, they all have that infrared receiver, so you could just have it.
It makes no sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a redundant feature because you do have IR on the BeoRemote 1, so you don't really have to worry about it. So that's perfect.
I mean, plus B&O's IR is like fucking lasers.
It really works well no matter what. I've had one house where there was an old MCL system and those long link eyes, and they've had them hidden behind pictures.
Nice.
And it worked. I was shocked. Like, you couldn't even see the LED status light, right? Because you have one or two, depends if you put the timer on. But the BeoLink 1000 remotes, man, they worked through that. I was surprised. You have to point, right? But you knew exactly where to point. I'm like, where in the hell? Oh, it's behind the frame. Wow.
I had that in a previous house where like the living room was like a U. Like here was the living room, dining room, kitchen with a wall in the middle. And in the kitchen, you could use the remote without any link eyes because it would bounce off the windows.
Oh, so that brings up another interesting question, I guess, is how did you guys deal with option programming?
Exactly. So in which use case do you think? I mean, I
Like,
mentioned,
let's say you have you would have, like, some people would have the 3500. Like, my mom's is a perfect scenario. She's got a BeoVision 9 on one side of the house and a BeoLab 3500 on the other side of the house. Unfortunately, with the BeoRemote Beo4, you can still trigger them both. So the 3500 is on option 4. So if you put that in there, would that still? Well, I guess you're bypassing the Masterlink anyways. You're just using that as a streamer, so it wouldn't make any difference if you do option programming.
No, nothing at all. It will send the same commands to the Masterlink. It's really,
it does.
The IR input is handled locally in the product, and it sends out the same message then on the Masterlink.
Okay, so if you can still have the 3500 option 4 and AirPlay into it without triggering the radio coming from the BeoCenter 2 that is connected to the BB9 in her Beosound 5. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm very curious, and I want to cover, I guess, all the angles, but I'm running out of angles to and questions to ask, because we've covered this very thoroughly, and I appreciate that.
Is there any indication what the price is going to be roughly, like even within €200, or do you not know yet? Does it depend a bit on final outcome?
Well, that is a good question. We have a rough estimate, but it all comes down to scalability and to order placement, I would say, because of course it's cheaper to make 2 or 500 units than it is to make 10 or 30. But we have some sort of rough estimate in where we're going to land. And I don't think it's a secret, Philip, but it's below 300 we are looking into, and probably even less than that.
For the
a
capability
product
that you get, I think it's a fair deal. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. So we're still working out what final price would be, and it all depends on where we're ending up with the hardware. We will know a lot more after the testing period, where we need to see if we need to change anything or if it just works as we expect it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you find out you need to change chip A that's 50 cents all of a sudden to chip B that's $2, it's going to change something.
Yes.
Exactly.
So do you guys have any potential interest from the dealers around the B&O community or not yet? Or is it more or less an unknown at this point for most of the dealers?
For most of the dealers, it's unknown. The ones I have talked to that we are also already selling through have been very interesting in this product and also asked to test it. But basically, right now, the testing period is not by resellers; it's by private persons.
Okay.
Where we actually get the real feedback on how the product works, and not from a technical point of view, so to say. Because it's in the end, it's the end user that actually decides if it's going to be a success or not.
Yes.
I have a feeling with dealers, you're going to get this sort of weird divide where, like, you have the dealers that are in it for the money and the dealers that are like the enthusiasts, like us here, right? Because this is not a huge money maker if you want to support the kid down the road that just bought something like a 2000 or whatever. But it's kind of nice to get them into the hobby sort of thing. But
yes.
that does take time and stuff. So I think it's going to be about 50-50 on that. I mean, if it helps, I can set up group buys on Discord if people are interested, because I certainly am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, and yeah, it's definitely something where we're really hoping that when we have it at the customer, the end user, that we more or less make the perfect product according to the user. If we would go through resellers directly and let them test it, we would probably get a lot of requests on design changes or hardware functions or whatever, which actually is not necessary when it comes to the end user.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
so
because
there's no need to make the product more expensive than it's actually necessary.
Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna run into like a reseller that has my stupid idea from earlier, like, why don't you just put 5 PowerLink ports more on it and make it surround sound capable? I mean, it's just adding ports, right?
Oh yeah.
Like,
you don't need licenses.
No, just do it, right?
just get it done. Who's gonna know? But yeah, no, that's a great idea. Great idea. And I think, yeah, it's like it's been saying, it's been long awaited.
I mean, I would say though, for a lot of things, people will probably say, why can't a lot of things be wireless? But I have a feeling we kind of rounded that corner where like wires are superior now that everything is wireless. The same that people start using the voice activated stuff less and less.
Mm.
I mean, I still remember 2 years or so ago being in the absolute minority in not using Google Home and any of that stuff on the B&O speakers. And it was literally an 80-20 split, but now it seems like it's 50-50. Where people that even had it are like getting rid of them on purpose.
Yeah, I think that era of cool it's like, the 3D glasses. It was cool for a few years, right? You watch a movie like a nerd with the flicker and all that nonsense, and then you go to bed with a headache. But I watched the 3D movie, and that's the same thing with the voice command. And I think they're also, when it comes to the voice command structure with like Googles and stuff, what really bugs me is that they use that command word in the commercials of the radio stations. So then it triggers a whole bunch of stuff in your house for no reason, right? And it's annoying that they do that. And for that reason, I'm out. I don't want to know.
I also think a lot of people are way more privacy minded these days.
I think so. Well, with everything else going on.
I mean, the amount of ads I still get about things that you talked about recently, and it was probably somebody in your vicinity that had their phone not fully locked down, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's kind of crazy how that goes.
I'll be pretty weirded out if I could ask for whole audio after we're done with the podcast. Might happen.
Hey Google, buy a whole audio Wi-Fi streamer.
Or Alexa.
You look at your email. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh boy. But yeah, no, that's a fantastic product. Fantastic product. I hope you guys are successful with it, and I think you're on the right path. You're definitely on the right path. Even looking at it from a sales or installer point, there's so many people that we have that now the option arises for them to be able to stream directly into their their devices,
especially in Europe, right, where like a lot of this Masterlink stuff is omnipresent. Like you can buy it on like an eBay or like Marktplaats in the Netherlands or something like that. Like there's small purchases at this point. Like you can buy a Beosound 2500 or 3200 for €150 quite often, and it's really pretty. But like, if you're a bit younger, like how do you stream into it? Because everybody does streaming now.
That's right.
Like, and this is excellent in that sense because you have something that's beautiful and timeless, and you're not like doing weird cable contraptions. It's just
exactly
the meant for cables.
Yeah, and you don't have to use the remote and press any service codes into it to activate the auxiliary input. And even if you plug it into the aux input of a Beosound 3000 or 3200 or whatever, you can't control it. You have to use your phone then, and it's a perfect combination, right? To have those nice old systems and enjoy the look of it and the aesthetics, and still use the remote, but control your Spotify stream, for example, with it. So
play music that doesn't exist on CDs anymore.
Exactly.
Because or tapes even. I guess if you go that far back, about 6.
I mean, I think somewhere in like every man has this box of old cable things, right? and I have one, and I think in my box of old cables, I still have a cassette tape to aux cable thing. So you could like your iPhone 4 had like a jack, right? Like you could put that in and put the tape into like a tape player.
Oh Jesus Christ! The head-to-head playback.
Yeah,
I remember those.
Yeah, really nice audio quality then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was audiophile. Fudge.
But it was the best that you could buy at that point. Like literally nobody did anything. It's like, oh, you just like plug it in with normal cables, unless it was B&O, which was even more unaffordable at the time.
And way more quirkier to integrate into, right? Because they just had their own.
I mean, I think the PowerLink connector has gotten better with it being RJ45, but even the 5-pin DIN and stuff, like nobody knew what it was at the time.
Yeah, there was only the B&O that used those connectors. Other than like the speaker connectors, they were more common.
Showing people like, this is a speaker cable. Like, what? No, you're lying. It's like, no, like it's B&O. It's like, well, what is that? And why do you use that? It's like, I don't know. This is just how it came. For some reason, it has to be this weird proprietary thing.
But it makes sense in their terms because it's all line level, and like the data and everything else that goes through that cable that normal people don't even think of, really. It just shows what track it's playing on my Penta. How does it do that? You know what I mean?
I mean, what's also interesting, the protocol in the PowerLink cable, so the data protocol you have there, it's really similar to MCL. So it's almost the same protocol in
Interesting.
there. Yeah. So yeah.
What's different about it?
I think it's just the address. So the speakers do have a separate address, and then it's one-to-one, the same thing.
Okay. That's interesting. That's a really deep level of knowledge of that old ancient system, basically.
Oh yes.
There's not many people. But I guess, yeah, the only way you could know it is to reverse engineer and just sniff out everything that it does while it's doing it. Because there's, yeah, like I said, there's very little literature on how that was all produced, other than, you know, if you dabble into the basements of the Masterlink gateway.
Actually, it's like, not to be a Debbie Downer, but I actually have a feeling a lot of people in B&O don't actually know how this works anymore.
I don't think so.
Because
no, not the new generation. It's already 10 years ago now, more than that, when the Masterlink was discontinued, right?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like 50% of the current employees were hired in the last 10 years, right? Like, and it's, you didn't use it in the last 10 years. Like, it, unless
well, there's no more development on it either, right?
Yeah.
The development or support for it stopped with the NLML converter, and it completely stopped with moving on to the Mozart platform.
I mean, I can understand it to a certain degree, right? There's not much money anymore in those old systems from a business perspective, right? So,
and there's a limitation because not everybody is now open to, like, you know, pulling cables through the whole house just so you can connect yourself a speaker in the bathroom type of thing, right? No. But it's easier to have something like, you know, Emerge or whatever, where you just stick it in the corner, plug it in the power, and it's on its own network and blah blah blah. So, you know. But then now you have the chance to do that with your classic B&O sound systems.
And that's actually where it's pretty smart with the cable adapter, that you can actually run RJ45 through the entire house and just plug in the adapter.
Yes.
So you basically future-proof your house.
Exactly, and this is actually one of the really first things when thinking about making such devices was actually this small little adapter here, right? Because there is a huge problem with the Masterlink interface and the Masterlink cables. I mean, they are not really available anymore. They are available. I think it even that Masterlink connector, it has a special name, so it's not proprietary to B&O. They haven't invented it. I think it's called an SDL connector or something like this. They are often used with 8 pins and 12 pins, and B&O is using the 16 pins version. I think you can still buy them if you buy like 5,000 pieces. If you place a bulk order of 5,000 pieces, you can still buy them. But yeah, it would have been a showstopper for the project to not have anything to plug into the Masterlink sockets of devices. So this was actually one of the first things I did here, is the Masterlink connector, and it's really nice. It's really nice. I mean, even if you compare it to a Masterlink cable and to the band radius, if you connect it here, it has about
more or
the
less
same band radius.
Yeah,
exactly. I think it's only a few millimeters, so it perfectly also fits the Beolab 3500, which I think has the tightest compartment. And yeah, this adapter is really nice, and I think Ulrich or Hall Audio will also sell them separately. So if you want to wire up a classic B&O system just with Masterlink cables in between, then you don't have to buy the Masterlink cables, just RJ45 or Ethernet cables and that little adapter thing here.
Because eventually those cables will break, or let's say you have a lightning strike, right, where you need to replace some cables because they're all fried. That's actually very handy. I mean, because
shielded Cat6, that's it.
On a sort of side note, like I heard recently that on the more practical side of the Masterlink cables, it wasn't so much that you couldn't fully get the plugs anymore. The crimping tools for them were almost unavailable. And just which is another issue. Like, yes, you can buy all the parts, but like, how do you make a cable out of it if you can't crimp it?
Exactly, and the plugs are actually quite hard to get. We are crimping our own cables as well. And I don't know how much time I spent using on trying to find a crimping tool. But the cables as well or the plugs are insanely hard to get, and they are really, really expensive. So yeah,
Unless
it
you
is
are
something
B&O,
that
you probably
are
don't need 5,000 anytime soon.
no, exactly. But that's where I can see, based on the cables we sell for the 2000 and 3500, there's quite a huge interest in the cables because that's the only solution right now.
Yeah, like I said, B&O has finished up with it, and I think that, yeah, I don't think the cables are even produced anymore. I think they're still available. Like, we could order wire from B&O, like ML to RJ45, but I think the ML to ML is going to be harder and harder to find, because they're just they're not going to contract out another, I don't know, a full batch production of cables for a relic system, right?
No,
They're trying to move away from it.
Usually it's just resellers that are able to buy the connectors or the plugs for repair usage.
So yeah, I definitely, that connector, it's a lifesaver, like I said, because I have installations where we did the network link infrastructure, or active or passive infrastructure, where you put in where you run ML over the Cat7 cable. So you could just, on the end of the speaker side, you can just replace it with the streamer, and now you have individual zone controlled speaker with a remote control that still work like it used to work, per se. But now you have AirPlay capable speaker.
So when will a Kickstarter go up? Because I kind of want to fund this.
Yeah.
Well, first we need to get the product tested first. So I would say that I think we are approximately 1 month from sending out any devices, and I think we will probably need a month at least for testing before we conclude anything when we should start or if we should postpone a bit. But late summer, latest.
All right. Well, let me know, because I'm gonna paste it everywhere, so everywhere.
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much, gentlemen. Say goodbye to the internet. If you have any place you want people to follow you, let them know. I put up the Hall Audio website, obviously, and the Polyvection website. Is there any other place people need to go see?
Read.
I mean, I think it's mainly Hall Audio. So probably you will also update your websites then, Ulrich, once we have the new prototypes and everything. So yeah, we are living here. Polyvection side is really only living in the back end. That will also be not branded Polyvection but Hall Audio. So we are just doing the engineering here for Ulrich in this case, and Ulrich is then the contact person for everything.
Perfect.
Well,
thank you guys very much, man. This was absolutely amazing and very, very educational. I definitely
and like Charles says, shut up and take my money.
That's it.
Thank you for having us.
Say goodbye to the internet, and I'll roll the outro.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye.